dude, the X-Men get me all like, and then Spider-Man is all like, imagine being a kid in the 90s and being like, oh, they should take these and just mash them together, and then they did, so you're like, oh, yeah! What is it about certain retro video games that haunt us to this day? I've got a few that I could never beat as a kid, like a shameful conceit that I had been bested. Spider-Man and the X-Men Arcade's Revenge was one that defeated me over and over and over again. I felt like I had to go back to it. Like a blood feud, I'm back to exact my revenge. Why? Well, for the same reason that any of us play any video game. So that I could feel like I actually accomplished something in my life. Spider-Man and the X-Men in Arcade's Revenge, a game with not one, not two, but 3 trademark symbols in the title screen alone. The intro sequence jumps right into a cutscene presented through comic book style panels, which honestly is kinda cool. Spider-Man notes the missing X-Men members lately, notices Gambit walking down the street, and then he's sucked into a garbage truck or whatever. Thus, we lead into the very first stage with Spider-Man breaking his way into a compound. Let me start with this. For a 1993 Super Nintendo and Sega Genesis game, Spider-Man plays pretty great. His running and jumping is as responsive as it can get, shooting webs is good, but I would not have expected any game to capture his mobility as well as they can in 16 bits. He can stick to and climb almost any wall, but most importantly, they nailed his web swing. The sound effect is perfect, you can control the height of the swing, but most importantly, the speed and momentum registers in a believable way. Seriously, no other video game at the time comes close to how good Spider-Man feels here. They even have his spider sense, which is a mini radar that directs Spider-Man to locating these blinky light things that must be collected in order to open up the exit door. The first stage is a great introduction level. Plenty of space for Spider-Man to roam around, some simple robots to shoot down, and a bit of a scavenger hunt for those blinky things to encourage learning all of his mobility options. I have replayed this first level so many times because of just how fun it is to be Spider-Man, climbing on walls and doing some swinging. Then you beat the first stage and are instantly reminded that, oh yeah, this is an LJN game. Spider-Man finds and releases the X-Men, only for Arcade to appear. For those unaware, Arcade is a Marvel Comics villain, but like D tier. His whole thing is he captures people and forces them to escape his contrived death games in his arena, subtly named Murder World. And yeah, he pretty much always looks like this. White suit, green shirt, stupid yellow bow tie. With the X-Men released, they all need to escape Arcade's murder games, which gives each hero 2 levels of their own to fight through, all with their own style of gameplay. They also all have their own style of being so aggravatingly bullshit difficult that it'll make you pull your hair out. Speaking of pulling your hair out, this video is brought to you by Keeps. Keeps is a subscription service that makes it easy and more affordable for men to treat their male pattern baldness. They offer clinically proven treatments to combat the symptoms of hair loss, and they're delivered right to your front door. And with Keeps, you can get doctor-recommended plans without even having to go to a doctor's office or a pharmacy. Their physicians will help you get the right products that you need, whether it's for stimulating hair growth, preventing hair loss, or to take better care of the hair that you have now. 2 out of 3 guys will experience some form of male pattern baldness by the time they're 35. Frankly, I like my hair. I would prefer not to lose it. Would you prefer that? Would you prefer that I lose all my hair? Would you prefer that I just give up and shave my head completely bald? Is that what you want? I don't want that, which is why I'm choosing to do something about it now, especially since customers will start seeing results within 6 months of starting treatment. Go to keeps.com/ProJared or click on the link in the description below to get 50% off your first order. That's keeps.com/ProJared for 50% off your first order. It's okay to want to do something for yourself. Now back to the video. You can play as any hero and complete their stages in any order. Spider-Man continues to play mostly like he did in the intro stage, only it's a more straightforward get to the end instead of having to find a bunch of keys. Only now there are way more enemies, way more damaging spikes, and instant death pitfalls everywhere. It's way easier to take a bunch more damage in these levels, and the health items don't restore a whole lot. But don't worry, you can also get a bunch of these different colored spider tokens. And what do these get you? Points for a high score. That's it. His spidey sense is reduced down to warning you when a boss shows up, which the first one that does is the Shocker. He's an easy fight that is entirely skippable, and he explodes into more health. But then in the same level, the second boss is also the Shocker. And then in the same level, there is a third boss. This guy. Now, I consider myself decently well versed in the Marvel universe, and I had no idea who this red pterodactyl is. Thankfully, a bunch of helpful people who watched me play through this over on my gameplay channel pointed out that this is Nassatir, a demon from Limbo who once kidnapped 13 babies to sacrifice them in a ritual known as Inferno, and once took over the body of Hobgoblin to become Demogoblin, and uses the transmode virus to convert others into technomatter so he can feed off of them. In here, Nassatir poops gems when he gets hit that heal you ever so slightly. Cyclops plays very differently than Spider-Man. While his running and jumping are the same, he can shoot his eye lasers in all the directions. But for good measure, he can also punch and do what has to be the most uncomfortable, awkward kick I've ever seen someone do. Seriously, just throw a gamer chair behind him and a desk in the front, and he looks like me 90% of the time I'm at home. For whatever reason, Cyclops' stage is running through mine shafts, which means riding minecarts. Annoyingly, he can only use his optic blast while standing still, which means aiming has you stand completely still to shoot. And before you can look down to fire, you have to crouch first. It's hard to explain without the controller in your hand, but it makes Cyclops' control stiffer than the stick that's always up his ass. You all know Storm, right? She can control the weather, usually shoots lightning, and she can fly. And according to LJN, the best way to translate all of that into a video game? Make her swim. All of her levels are underwater. She can still shoot lightning bolts, at least, while somehow also not electrocuting herself. Weirdly, Storm's levels are also the easiest because instead of a life bar, she has air. And as long as you can keep her head above surface, you can keep her air maxed out. Doesn't mean it isn't stressful though, because every bit of damage depletes her air quickly. I swear I can hear the drowning music from Sonic the Hedgehog every time I play her. God damn. At least they're still my favorite X-Men, Gambit. Hold on, Remy Baudreau? How'd they get his last name wrong? His stages are about what you'd throughout the entirety of his level. You must run from a massive spiked ball of instant death. This means constantly moving forward, not knowing what's coming ahead, and taking a massive amount of damage from every single enemy that hits you. Bullets deal less damage than getting booped by an enemy. Now, you can stall the spiked ball by hitting it with one of Gambit's cards. However, unlike every other character in the game, Gambit is the only one with limited ammo. If you run out of cards, you're pretty much dead, especially since there are times where you have to break through blocks to progress forward. You need to make sure you're killing enemies with kinetic card throws so that they drop more cards, all while running away from certain doom. Now, I've been saving the worst for last, and that's Wolverine. With how weird everyone's levels have been, you couldn't possibly expect the theme for Wolverine stages. Brace yourself. What the hell? What the hell is this? What the hell is that? Why? Why clowns? Why Jack-in-the-Boxes with Tommy guns? Weird clawhorn clowns on Roombas? Bomber planes? And the entire time, clown laughter. Playing as Wolverine is honestly as smooth as Spider-Man. Run, jump, claw stuff. He also has a button that makes his claws pop in and out, which you gotta admit, few things are as cool as being able to control the stick-it sound. If you keep your claws away, Wolverine will even regenerate a set amount of life back. You could even claw through certain walls with his uppercut. Again, this is actually pretty cool. What I've been glancing over this entire time is how incredibly bullshittingly difficult everything about this game is. You're gonna die a lot. Remember the Cyclops minecarts? What I didn't mention is that if you miss any of the jumps and land on the tracks, instant death. Dudes can shoot you from off-screen, and robots can infinitely spawn and chase after you. Spider-Man has way more bottomless pits, as does Gambit, and in Storms, every single thing hurts, including things you thought were in the background, and every single explosion, including the ones you cause. Think Wolverine's is completely straightforward? Surprise! Buzzsaw to the nutsack. Why is it that when Spider-Man gets hit, he gets flung backwards like 15 feet into the air? Gambit doesn't react at all. Storm gets hit like 8 times in a row from everything. And when Cyclops gets hit, he looks into the camera like he's in The Office. And for every single one of them, there are no checkpoints. You have to beat each stage in one go. Remember how Spider-Man had 3 bosses alone? Die at any of them and boom, back to the beginning. Don't screw up a single Cyclops jump. Don't get lost in Storm's underwater maze. Don't move too slow as Gambit. Don't get hit by a pie as Wolverine. You have 3 lives and 0 continues. Not 3 lives each, 3 lives between them all. That's why I never beat this game. Having to start over upon every single death, running out of lives, and getting sick of having to redo the intro stage over and over and over again just exhausted me into submission. Thankfully, there is a single exploit you can take advantage of. On Gambit's levels, and only Gambit's levels, you can collect 100 of these star things to earn a 1-up. However, there is a single star here that is glitched and won't vanish if you hit it at an angle. You can jump over it and back repeatedly to rack up hundreds of stars and free lives. Do this until you're crushed to death, rinse, and repeat. I did this until I got over 30 lives. That ought to be plenty. Also, I want to point out the rather hilarious death scream that all the X-Men do. And that Storm's death scream is far more haunting. Also worth pointing out, and it's undeniably an amazing thing about this game, the music is great. And not just great, it's downright impressive. It has no right having music this good. These are full-on compositions, not just quick looping 40-second melodies. The bass line in every Spider-Man level is tight. I don't know of any other Super Nintendo game that has percussion that sounds this clean. Listen to the hi-hat. The soundtrack is standalone incredible, and it makes having to replay every level sting a bit less because at least they jam. Well, except for Wolverine's, since, you know. Spider-Man has to fight 3 bosses. Cyclops fights a Sentinel, Storm fights nothing, Gambit fights a King while he has a Jack 2 offsuit, and Wolverine fights... dude, I don't know. I think this is supposed to be Apocalypse. It took me 12 attempts at this boss battle alone. I haven't even talked about all of their second levels yet, because they get to be even more bullshit. Spider-Man has even more bottomless pits, requiring a lot more web swings of faith and enemies off-screen pelting you away, and at the same time, rain, with heavy winds that push you in whatever direction. It doesn't just push, it makes you face that direction, which can completely screw up your web shots. Lots and lots of falling to my death here. And at the end of it all, 2 bosses at the same time! Carnage and Rhino. Rhino runs back and forth and rams the wall, making you fall down your ledge automatically. And Carnage jumps around shooting back at you, only he's invincible some of the time. Honestly, I couldn't figure him out, so I just kept shooting off screen, hoping for the best, until I heard him die. And with Rhino, you web swing into him. But man, after like 2 hours and dozens of lives later, I've officially gotten farther in this game than I ever have in my entire life. Cyclops has even more leaps of faith and way more enemies to kill, including yet another Sentinel. And then, once you beat his second stage, bonus 3rd level versus a giant Sentinel. Frustration aside, this is actually a pretty decent boss fight, as it loses chunks of itself as you blast them off. This Sentinel shoots missiles, energy balls, and those surprise prank snakes that pop out of cans. Storm's second stage is largely the same as her first, only more maze-like and even more water to go through. The boss, if you can call it that, at the end is blasting these orb things. Again, not too bad as long as you manage your air. And then there's Wolverine's second stage. By far the most aggravating bullshit of them all. The entire level is you running from the Juggernaut. Along the way, you cut down anvils and whatever to slow him down, all while killing enemies, clawing through walls, and avoiding ball pits. Why? Because the ball pits are instant death.
Which makes sense. Do you know how many diseases are in those things?
If the Juggernaut catches up to you at any point, he'll also instantly kill you. So run and run and run, slowing him down, and when you finally get to the end, a ball pit you cannot pass. And when the Juggernaut reaches it, you die. Jump into the ball pit to trick him into going into it, also death. No, you have to kill the Juggernaut before the end of the level, or you die. I got stuck here for hours. Remember when I said 30 lives should be enough? Nope! I thankfully did not beat Gambit's first stage on purpose, just in case I needed more lives. And I did! So to kill Juggernaut, you cannot miss a single one of these anvils to drop down. But for whatever reason, some of these are just fake. You can't cut them down. I would claw them over and over and it just wouldn't happen. Why would they do this? Juggernaut has to hit these things, and on top of that, you have to stab him. A lot. Like, a lot. There's no speeding to the end here. It's basically a countdown timer to you doing enough damage to kill him. After dozens of attempts and all the stabbing I could possibly do, he still wouldn't die. And that's because just cutting these things down isn't good enough. You have to time it so that you slice the ropes, they fall, and they have to land on the Juggernaut in order to get enough damage in to have a chance at beating him. This is the absolute worst level. You cannot miss a single thing. Okay, there's still Gambit. Thankfully, all my attempts at gaining extra lives made it easier for me to blitz through it. But even towards the end, before the boss, I'm still getting low on life and cards and yo, look at all these power-ups I can get. Stars, more cards, more life. I'm gonna get, oh my god, you can't. It's impossible to get these power-ups up here. Even if you destroy the blocks properly, Gambit can't jump high enough to get up in there. There's no other way in. These are all fake. Are you kidding me? The game is fucking with me. Yeah, I no longer trust anything that comes next. I'm getting as many lives as possible because I refuse to lose here. So I'm gonna get some more. Let's go with another cool 80? 80 lives sounds good. I was able to kill the card boss, and the second stage is an auto-scroller, but going up. It's a lot of the same trappings as the previous stage, only you have to guess which side to go up on. Because if you choose wrong, you're trapped and you're dead. Look at this. They even put a bunch of power-ups at a dead end just to further insult you. Why does the queen card look like it wants to suck me off? Does the king card look at me the same way? Yup. The auto-scroller goes for way longer than it should, and you really start to feel it since you have to start over after every death. Of course, there's another boss at the end of this stage, and it's giant robot lady? They might supposed to be the Hellfire Club, but I have no idea. But hey, with her finally defeated, it's another Cyclops stage. Oh, come on! At least it's short and... Oh, now Wolverine. Oh, okay, this is kind of neat. Now, every character runs through a short level to make their way to the final showdown with Arcade. You want to know the crazy part? Storm has a normal level. Look, she can shoot lightning in every direction and jumps super high. This is great and so much more fun than any of her swimming garbage. Why couldn't they just have her like this the whole time? And sure enough, it's a final showdown with the man himself, Arcade. And by man himself, I mean a giant tank of him. You have to play Spider-Man for this part. Just do your best to shoot the machine. But don't worry, the X-Men are here to help. Sort of. If you get near them on the side, they'll each do a single attack to act like they're helping. They're basically worthless, especially Wolverine, who only has melee range, and he doesn't even have his claws out. Eventually, the tank explodes into a springy arcade robot, and that blows up into several more arcade robots. And when they die, it's finished. Arcade appears on the screen, says he's blowing up the complex. Kaboom! They all jump out in a dramatic explosion. Only now Storm's wearing the wrong outfit. You think he got out? You can count on it. Come on, let's go home. And then, game over, title screen. Wow. The developers didn't even want credits to put their names in.
What is it with LJN games and them being almost good enough to make you excited right at the start and then get sucker punched only a fraction into their games? Arcade's Revenge starts out so promising. Smooth controls, different characters to play in different ways, surprisingly kick-ass music, but they always make them unfairly difficult and near impossible to beat. They're not difficult in a fun way, just infuriating. And then as kids, we never beat them because they aren't enjoyable to attempt over and over again. It's like they figured out their formula early and then incorporated it into every single thing they ever made. LGN didn't just want your money, they wanted to punish you for it. I can only imagine what the... Now hold on a goddamn second. You are all standing on a cliffside. Spider-Man, what the hell are you hanging upside down from?